All right, let's jump right in. We like to think we know the creatures we share our world with, right? But what happens when a new scientific discovery comes along and tells us we've had it wrong this whole time? Well, that's what we're doing today. We are literally redrawing the family tree for one of the planet's most ancient and successful insects.
I mean, that's a huge question, and it gets right to the very heart of biology. The way we group living things, it tells the story of evolution. But sometimes that story needs a pretty major edit.
And that is exactly what's happened here. Thanks to a really deep dive into cockroach DNA, scientists have completely shaken up our understanding of these incredibly resilient insects, and in the process, they've revealed relationships we never even knew existed. So, here's our plan for this explainer. We'll kick things off with the cockroach identity crisis, then look at the tangled old family tree and how DNA helped untangle it. We'll cover the huge reclassification that came out of all this, and then, my favorite part, the aha moment when geography proves it all right. And finally, we'll wrap up with why this whole thing actually matters.
Okay, first up, let's talk about what a cockroach even is. And believe me, the answer is way more complicated and surprising than you might think.
Yeah, that's right. It's honestly one of the biggest shakeups in insect classification in decades. Genetic studies have confirmed that termites, they're not some separate group of insects at all. They're actually a super specialized social branch of the cockroach family. This fact alone just goes to show you that appearances can be really deceiving and that our old ways of classifying things, well, they needed a much closer look.
And that brings us right to the core of the problem. See, the old way of organizing cockroaches was becoming a real, genuine scientific headache.
Okay, so here's the crucial difference. For more than a century, scientists classified cockroaches based on what they looked like, their physical anatomy. The problem is this thing called convergent evolution, where totally unrelated species end up developing similar traits just because they live in similar ways. And this led to constant arguments, with different studies coming up with completely different family trees. The new genetic approach, though, it just cuts right through all that confusion. It looks directly at the code of life to trace the single, true evolutionary path.
And the biggest mess of all was in this one family, Blattabacterium. It's the largest and most well-known group. The research we're diving into found that none of its 4 major subfamilies were what scientists call monophyletic. Just think of it like a proper family tree, right? Everyone in one branch should trace back to a single great-grandparent. But these groups didn't. They were just messy collections of species that kind of looked alike, not true families with a single shared origin.
So how in the world did these researchers clean up this mess? Well, they turned to a really powerful toolkit from modern genetics.
And you've got to appreciate the sheer scale of this work. It's just incredible. To build a tree they could actually rely on, the scientists needed a massive sample size. So they gathered DNA from 131 different groups of cockroaches and termites, making sure they covered all the major branches of the family.
And the whole process was so meticulous. First, they sampled super widely. Then, they sequenced 9 key genes that are known to be really reliable for tracking evolutionary history. They fed all of this data, we're talking thousands and thousands of genetic letters, into powerful computers to find the patterns. And out of all that complex analysis, a new, clear, data-driven family tree finally emerged. And the results? They were revolutionary. Seriously, the new tree didn't just tweak the old one, it demanded a complete and total overhaul.
Just take a look at this. On the left, you've got those 4 old, messy subfamilies. And on the right, the new, clean 6-family structure. One group, Macrocercinae, was just dissolved completely. 2 old groups were actually brought back, or reinstated. And, most exciting of all, a brand new subfamily was created from scratch.
And here it is, Ostrostylopyginae. This is a group of cockroaches from Australia and New Guinea that just never really fit into the old system. But genetically, they are so distinct they needed their own branch on the family tree. I mean, discovering a whole new subfamily like this, that is a massive deal in the world of taxonomy.
So the cleanup continued. The DNA showed that the insects in that old Macrocercinae subfamily, they weren't a distinct group after all. They were actually just one little branch nested deep inside another bigger group called Polyzosteriinae. So boom, Macrocercinae got absorbed, which really tidied up the tree and made it a much more accurate picture of evolution. Okay, now for the best part. How do we know this new genetic tree is the right one? Well, it's because of an absolutely incredible piece of supporting evidence that has nothing to do with DNA at all. This is that aha moment I was talking about. When the scientists mapped out where all the species in their new tree lived, everything just clicked. The branches of their new family tree lined up almost perfectly with geography. It's amazing.
I mean, the geographic pattern is just stunningly clear. Each major branch now hangs out in a distinct part of the globe. The Blattabacterium, they're in Africa and tropical Asia. The Polysosterione, almost all in Australia and the islands around it. They even identified new, smaller branches called tribes, think of them as smaller family units, that were totally unique to New Caledonia and New Zealand. And that group that was brought back, Uricotiane, yep, they're native to the Americas. This kind of geographic consistency is just powerful proof that the genetic tree is the real one.
So why does a new family tree for cockroaches matter to anyone who isn't an entomologist? What's the big takeaway here?
Because this is about something so much bigger than cockroaches. It's about the scientific process itself. It shows that science isn't some set of unchanging facts written in stone. It's a method for getting closer and closer to the truth. And when better tools and stronger evidence, like DNA sequencing, come along, science is able to go back, correct past mistakes, and build a much more accurate picture of our world.
And that's really the whole goal. As the researchers themselves put it, this new, stable classification gives them a solid foundation to build on. Future scientists who are studying cockroach evolution or their behavior or even pest control now have a reliable map to guide their work. It just ensures that all that future progress is built on a foundation of truth.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we could get the story of the common cockroach so wrong for so long, what other fundamental misunderstandings are just waiting to be corrected by the secrets that are locked away in DNA? The story of life on Earth is clearly still being written.